For this documentary, I interviewed a broad group of student athletes, each representing a different sport. I first interviewed my roommate, who is on the swim team, and then I moved on to other friends and acquaintances who play on different teams. My main focus was the interview with Kendall Waters, the athletic director, because of her different perspective on the situation compared to college students.
For this documentary, we chose to go with an expositional style as well as an educational function. We did so by interviewing a bunch of student athletes to get their firsthand knowledge of their experience and how they felt about the situation in the COVID pandemic. We didn't want to include any information with medical professionals explaining what the regulations had to be and why they had to be this way. Instead, we wanted to educate everyone else on the emotions and feelings and situation based off of what we hear from the student athletes. They are experiencing a much different semester from past semesters, and we wanted to show an example of that by showing some clips from the practices, as well as talking to the athletic director. So this is the Sports Center, and for this documentary we got to observe a lot of different sports practices. For example, we got to sit in and observe one of the basketball practices like we were a fly on the wall, which was a pretty neat experience. And then we got to interview one of the basketball players right outside, right here. So why did you choose to make this documentary?
Well, I chose to make this documentary because I enjoy sports, and I saw like a lot of my friends here that they couldn't, like their sports season was canceled, and I wanted to give a little bit more insight of why it was canceled and how are they practicing now, and what the differences were from this year being restricted from a previous year whenever they were okay to do whatever.
So for the form for this documentary film, while I was editing it, I started off with a simple tease by having using all of our footage from that we took of like the vacant stadium seats and like big open empty fields, just to give you that feel of like what's going on here. Something's not right. There's something different in this world of sports. And so then when I got to the exposition, I decided to start off with having all of our interviewees in a line, just chronologically giving off their names and their sports.
I'm Max Sager.
My name is Jackson DeFore.
I'm Brandon Armstrong.
I'm Molly Taylor.
My name is Christian Stewart.
I'm a left wing and I play soccer.
I'm a sprinter here, so my sport is swimming.
I play football here.
I do track and field.
I play men's basketball.
And then this eventually builds into our Rising Action, which is going through interviews of all of our interviewees, including Kendall Waters, who is the athletics director, to slowly build up to our climax, which is the athletic director's remarks about how she feels on how COVID has affected students in collegiate sports.
Well, I just, want our student athletes to know how much we care about their experience and that we want nothing more for them to be able to participate. And I just feel for them and their disruption in their college career, in their college athletic career, and understand that it's painful and it's frustrating, and just to know that we're thinking about them, and we hope we can get back to competition really, really soon. But that we are doing what we feel like is the best thing for everybody when we're making these decisions.
So then for my resolution, I finally wanted to just add in one warmer note of the athletic director talking about work towards possible vaccines and continuing to plan for winter sports and spring sports despite the COVID restrictions, and hoping that things would get better, because it's a more hopeful note on a documentary that's already pretty down in the dumps.
Yeah, a lot of what we're going to do moving forward is to be determined. We are talking right now in the next few weeks about winter sports, basketball, swimming, diving, indoor track, and just trying to understand what we would need to do in order to make that happen and when we can start it. And then we'll move forward and talk about fall sports in the spring, and then spring sports as they are scheduled now. And for those protocols, I think once we determine if and when it's safe to do that, we'll then look at, you know, spectator protocols and stuff like that. But I would assume that unless there is a vaccine or something where we're able to, you know, be in crowds and stuff like that, there would be a reduced fan policy of some sort.